session. So this is about the deployment process where you are, as a developer, you will be doing the coding. So a lot of people think that I only have to do coding because I am a developer and I have a good knowledge of coding. But when you join a company, they will ask you for maybe create a branch, merge the branch, and even create a Docker image. Nowadays, Docker and Kubernetes are used, and like we are totally moving towards automation basically. So it's a complete process actually, where a developer should also know how to raise a PR, pull request, and then how to monitor it, how to coordinate with testing team, how to coordinate with DevOps team, and how to recognize like what went wrong basically. So it's a complete process where you are again deploying on the server, and then Kubernetes is managing lot of Docker images in form of it can be a bundle, it can be a web services, it can be a database services, even Facebook, or let's say Netflix, they are creating their own Docker images. If they are doing coding in PHP, or they are doing coding in Java, so they are doing code commit in GitHub repository, and then a Docker image is created automatically, and then that Docker image is managed by Kubernetes, and Kubernetes is standing somewhere in the server where it is managing all the services. You can see database, web, cache services. So all the services are managed at one place. And previously, when you see this older method, so where development was done and it was totally sent to the code repository, and from there a bundle was created, and there was a different database server, again there was a different cache server, which was again the integration was a little bit complicated there, and then the services was taking a lot of time to come up basically. So Kubernetes and Docker is totally, it is basically automating all the deployment process, and it is also uh, a less overhead for the company who is doing a lot of development. And this is more older method. When 10 years back I was working in Wipro, and then we were creating basically a compact disk uh, software. We were doing our coding, and we were writing the complete image on CD, and we were sending the CD to the customers directly. So this was a lot more older method, where there was no automation, there was no like in some cases repository were used like SVN, ClearCase, but there was no automatic build generation. Sometimes zip file was sent to the customer. So that was the case. So we have come to this uh, era where it's like completely automated, and we have to just write the logic. And developer, whether you are a developer, tester, or QA, you should know the process basically. So again, with this I'll just uh, take a pause on my words, and I will invite Avnish, who is having around 14 years of experience and is working in Ericsson. So Avnish, you can just take over from here, and you can just introduce yourself.
Thank you, Gaurav. Hello, friends. This is Avnish, and I think some of you already know me. I had a session earlier with Witty Minds Technologies. I think last week only, last week or last to last week. And today I'm going to cover containers, container orchestration, Docker, and Kubernetes in brief. Okay, so Gaurav has already told you about me that I'm working with Ericsson, and I have a good amount of experience to share with you all. And I'm recently I've done a certification as well in Kubernetes. It's the CKAD, Certified Kubernetes Application Developer. So I can share my experience of studying that topic, of studying that Kubernetes, and clearing the exam as well with you guys. So today, first we start with containers. Then we will cover Docker, then container orchestration, and then Kubernetes. So I haven't prepared any slides, but I have my notes with me. And this session is going to be very practical one, not the theoretical one. So I'll do everything in front of you guys. Okay, that will help you in like you can practice those things on your own as well. Okay, so this session is going to be very practical one. All right, so let
You
me
can
share
just
my screen.
introduce with
Hmm.
the video, Agnes, if there is no issue in your like if there is no network issue, and also you can just say
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
just on your video so that they will know that this is Mr. Avnish and Kubernetes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello, friends. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think without spending any much time, let's
Yeah.
start
Yes,
our
I have
session,
already
today's
shown the
session.
overview. So I
Hmm.
don't think that
Yeah.
like we should go. That is like a newer trend. I think that going
Hmm.
with the document which is having some steps. That
Yes.
will
Yeah. And Gaurav, I have to share the screen. So can you enable the screen sharing for me? Because I'm not able to. Yeah, I can share the screen now. Yes. Thank you.
I have enabled.
Okay. All right. So guys, first okay. So first we will start with containers. So first we will discuss what are containers. Before discussing containers, we have virtual machines in place. Okay, so we will start with virtual machines. So what are virtual machines? So I can show you a virtual machine. So this is my laptop on my laptop I have this software called Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager. Okay, this software, probably some of you might already know this software, okay, about this software. So this software is for creating virtual machines. So I have a Windows laptop, it has Windows operating system on it, but I have created many virtual machines on top of my Windows machine. So you can see here, it's like these are some of the virtual machines. All these are Linux based virtual machines. Okay, like these three are Linux based virtual machines. Then again, I have this virtual machine for Docker. This virtual machine I have, these three virtual machines I have for Jenkins. Okay, and then this is a Minikube virtual machine, this is a CentOS virtual machine. So you can see that I have installed many virtual machines on top of my Windows system, on top of my Windows operating system, on top of my Windows laptop. So this is the concept of virtual machine. If I take just one example, so if I take example of say this Docker. Okay, this Docker virtual machine. So what is this? This is a, like, I have a Windows system, and on top of my Windows system I've installed one virtual machine. Okay, this is a complete virtual machine. So it is completely isolated from my Windows system. So this is the concept of virtual machines. We will start later on. I will start these virtual machines as well. Okay, now going on to that picture which I showed you earlier. So what is the concept of virtual machines? So this is a virtual machine. If you see my screen, so in a virtual machine we have a host operating system. So in my case I have a Windows operating system, which is the host operating system. Then there is a hypervisor. So here this Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager, it's a hypervisor. So on top of this we create our virtual machines. Okay, and then on top of hypervisor we have the virtual machines. So we can create a Linux virtual machine, we can create a Windows virtual machine, and we can create virtual machines with other operating systems as well. So here they have given three examples: Linux, Windows, and gas operating system. Okay, and in these virtual machines we have the operating system. Okay, so we on a Windows host OS we can have a Linux operating system, and in on top of Linux operating system we have the our applications as well. Our applications, our libraries. I can give one example. Suppose we have a like say I have a Windows operating system, and on top of my Windows operating system I have a Linux virtual machine, and in that Linux virtual machine I have say a say bank management system. So that bank management system is my application. There can be some libraries as well, some libraries, some okay supporting files, and then the Linux operating system. This is the concept of virtual machines. So any questions from anyone so far? I would like to, this session is going to be interactive. So if you have any questions, please ask me. We'll discuss them. Okay, so this is the concept of virtual machine. Now moving on to containers. So what is the difference between containers and virtual machines, and why do we have containers when we already have virtual machines in place? So in a container, just like virtual machine, we have a host operating system. Okay, but there is no hypervisor in case of containers. So in case of virtual machines, we have this Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager. So in case of containers, there is no hypervisor. Okay. Uh, okay. So on top of host operating system, we have the applications and the libraries. So in case of containers, there are no there are no guest operating systems. So in virtual machines, we have seen that these are the guest operating systems like Linux or Windows. But in case of containers, there are no guest operating systems. Okay, so the operating system of the host is being shared by guests as well. So suppose I have a Linux operating system as a host, then I have few containers on top of my host operating system. So all these containers will be shared by, so all of my containers will share my Linux operating system, which is the host operating system. So you can see, so there's a major difference between the virtual machines and the containers. In case of virtual machines, we have multiple operating systems. We have the host operating system, and then we have the guest operating system. So it makes virtual machines very heavy. But in case of containers, we are not having any guest operating system. We are just having the host operating system and the containers. In the containers, we have the applications and the libraries. So that's a major difference. So you can see this guest operating system layer. This layer is missing in case of containers. So that's a major difference. I think if you have any questions, this is a very major difference, and this is a very basic building block. So if you have any questions, let me know. But I will repeat this thing once more because this is very important. So in case of containers,
also, like some people have sometime they think that whether they should ask or not. You can just put in the chat. Even after the session, you can send us a mail. You can connect us on WhatsApp. So feel free.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm going to cover this thing again because it's very important. So like this is the difference between virtual machines and containers. So there are many similarities between virtual machines and containers, but there are some differences as well. So in case of virtual machines, we have seen that there is a host operating system, hypervisor, and the guest operating system. Okay, but in case of containers, there is only host operating system, but there is no guest operating system or the hypervisor. Containers run directly on top of the host operating system. Okay, so there's a major difference. That's why virtual machines are very heavy. They are very heavyweight. So like if I see here, so if you see here, all these are virtual machines. All these are virtual machines, and they are GBs in size. Okay, the virtual machines are in GBs, but the containers are not in GBs. They are very lightweight. They are in MBs because virtual machines contain the entire operating system. Okay, but the containers contain only the libraries, not the entire operating system. So they are very lightweight. They are in MBs, but they serve the like a same purpose. So on top of a guest operating system, host operating system, you can run multiple containers. So you can say, suppose you have a Linux host, and on top of that Linux host, you can run multiple containers. So one container can be of say web server, another container can be of say database, another container can be of say some middleware application. So you can run multiple containers. Okay, we'll see all these things in practical as well. Okay, so probably like if you guys are new, you might not understand from the theory, but we'll see all these things in practical as well. Okay, so that's the thing. And when I say app here, so you can run any type of app here. So as I said, you can run one app of say web server. So Nginx is a web server. You can run a web server as a container. Okay, then you can run some database as a container, say Oracle or MySQL. You can run these databases as another container. Then you can run say some other application, some other like say some Ansible. Ansible is another platform. You can run Ansible as a container. So there are many containers. And even if I talk about databases, you can run multiple databases as containers, like Oracle, MySQL. Okay, so you can run them as containers. All these multiple applications as containers. We'll see them one by one. Okay. So this is the basic about the containers and virtual machines. So now moving on to Docker. So Docker, you can say Docker is a tool, it's a technology or a software which is used to create containers. Okay, Docker provides the runtime, okay, for running the containers. It is used to create the containers. All right, so that's how. So if you have to create a container, you can use Docker to create the containers. And then moving on to another layer, we have container orchestration. So for orchestrating these containers, like in a production environment, in organizations, in companies, like hundreds of containers run at the same time. So for managing those hundreds of containers, if something goes down, okay, if something is not working, so for managing those hundreds of containers, we have a thing called container orchestration or container orchestrator. So Kubernetes is one such example. Kubernetes is used for managing those hundreds or thousands of containers. So that is the hierarchy. So for creating the containers, we have Docker. For managing the containers, we have Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is a container orchestrator. So I think we have discussed, yeah, Kubernetes. Yeah. So now I'll show you a few practical, like then you will gain more understanding about like what I am talking about. Okay. So first, like we will set up a complete lab here in this session. Okay, a complete lab. So I have prepared some notes here, and I will share these notes with you guys as well, so you can refer them later on. Okay. So first, what we will do, we will download Minikube. So if you see my screen, Minikube is a it's a one node Kubernetes cluster. So in a Kubernetes cluster, there can be multiple nodes. There can be hundreds of nodes or thousands of nodes. But since it is our local system, it doesn't have much resources. We will set up a one node Kubernetes cluster, and that one node Kubernetes cluster is enough for the entire practice. We can do as much practice as we want in that one node Kubernetes cluster. So this is the link. This is the URL from where you can download the one node Kubernetes cluster, which is called as Minikube. So I'll open it as well for you guys. So if you, this is the page. If you go here, okay. If you go here, you have to download this one, Minikube Windows AMD 64.exe. You have to download this one. So I have put this in my notes as well. This is the file which you have to download. Okay. So this is the, what is this? This is Minikube. This is the one node Kubernetes cluster. It will set up an entire lab for you all. You can do practice for Kubernetes, for Docker in this virtual machine. Then there is a kubectl. Download kubectl. Kubectl is nothing. It's a tool. It's a command line tool for interacting with a Kubernetes cluster. So if you want to interact with a Kubernetes cluster, you need this tool, kubectl. So we will download this one as well. Okay, so
For
I'm going to
Mac and
download.
Linux user, we will just update this document and we'll send. So don't worry about that. Even I'm a Mac user, so I will expect.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like since I am working on a Windows machine, okay. So but these virtual machines are Linux based. So if I talk about this Minikube, it's a Linux virtual machine. Okay, and on my laptop I have a VirtualBox manager. So I will install this virtual machine on top of that VirtualBox Linux, on top of that VirtualBox manager. Okay. So yeah, but for Mac you have to make some adjustments. I don't have much idea about Mac. Sorry for that. So from here you can download the kubectl for Windows. The kubectl is nothing. It's a tool. It's a command line tool for interacting with Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so you can download from here. Like download the latest release version 1.20.0. You can download from here. So I have already downloaded these things because otherwise it will take a lot of time. And okay, so this is my existing Minikube. I will remove it so that I can show you guys how things work. I'm going to remove it completely. Now it is completely removed. Okay, and now I will install it in front of you guys. So
time meeting is ended, you can join it again. I think there is no issue. Just you can click on the same invitation and you can join it again anytime if it is ended.
Yeah, and then you have to add, like suppose I have downloaded these softwares at this path. So just a minute. So I have downloaded them here. C drive Kubernetes. I've downloaded these software at this location. Okay, in C Kubernetes. So then you have to add this location to your path. Okay, so I'm going to add it here. So this is the, like for Windows users know it very well. So there is a path, and then you have to add it here, and you have to add the path here. So for me, the path is already there. So C Kubernetes, add it into your path. Okay, So that is already done. Now what we will do, we will open the command line cmd in Windows, right? And I'll go to that same location. I think there is no need to go to that location because it's in our path. So if I type the command minikube start, that is the command, like minikube start. If I type minikube start, what it will do? It will install a virtual machine for me. It will install a virtual machine for me, and that virtual machine contains the one node Kubernetes cluster. So let's see how it works. Sorry, we don't need this one.
And those who are thinking about multi-node cluster, so there are several ways. We have some platform called DigitalOcean. We'll send you the online link for your practice for Kubernetes. And at my home also, I had multiple Linux machine, multiple Ubuntu machine. If you are having, you can do multi-node cluster setup at your home also. So we'll tell you each and everything. No need to worry about that.
Yeah. So here, like you can see, it is saying creating VirtualBox VM, which will be having two CPUs, 4000 MB of memory, and 2000, like 20, like 1 2 3 4, yeah, 200, like 20,000 MB of disk space. Okay, so that is the configuration. So it is creating one virtual machine here. Yeah, so there you can see it here. It's a new virtual machine which is coming up here, and as of now it's powered off, but it will come up soon. Yeah. Okay, so it is creating a virtual machine. It will take some time, probably 2-3 minutes, and then this machine would be ready.
Avnish, I have one simple question actually.
Yeah.
So you said like while using containers, we won't require any hyperscale and hypervisor.
Hypervisor, yes.
Yeah. So I was thinking like this Kubernetes and Docker will work only on Linux platform. So if you have a system with Linux platform, you don't have to do this hypervisor thing. No.
Yes. So like what you need, so that's a good question. So what you need, you just need a Linux operating system. Okay, and on top of Linux operating system, you just need to install Docker. If Docker is there, then you can create containers, and then you can run containers as well. You just need Docker on top of Linux operating system. That's it. That's the only requirement. You don't need any hypervisor. Okay, I'll show you. So once this virtual machine is ready, I'll show you as well how things work here. And yes, guys, so this virtual machine Minikube, you can use this for practicing Kubernetes as well as Docker. So it has Docker installed in it, it has Kubernetes installed in it. So you just need one virtual machine for practicing Docker as well as Kubernetes. So I'm going to run Docker commands as well here, as well as Kubernetes commands here. So it will help you in both the ways. Yeah, so now it is in running condition. Earlier it was powered off, now it is in running condition, and probably it will take probably 2-3 minutes more, and then our cluster would be ready. So it is it is getting set up. So once it is set up, then I'll show you that you can we will create the containers, we will run the containers. Okay, we will create the pods. The pods is a concept in Kubernetes. We will create the pods, and we will run the applications, and we will access those applications as well. So this we are going to do.
So I have one question here. I mean, it's like can be related to like 10 years back when for DB there was a different server, for cache service different. So we are all managing at a same
in one machine, just one machine. Yes. So like suppose if I take let me give you one example. Probably I think 5, 6, 7 years back, I was installing Oracle. So there was a complete I think 7-8 page document for installing Oracle on Linux. Few days back, probably I think not few days back, about a month back, around 1 month back, I installed Oracle, say in just probably 20 minutes. What I did, I just downloaded the image of Oracle from Docker Hub, and I ran that Oracle as a container, that image as a container, and my Oracle database was ready. So whatever you need now, you don't need to do the complete setup or the complete installation. You just need to download the image, whether it's Oracle or MySQL or some web server or Nginx, whatever. Just download the image, okay, and then run that and your software is ready. You don't need that complete setup like a 5-page document, 6-page document. You don't need those things now.
So it will have all the environment requirement, everything, and it
yes,
will,
yes, and all the libraries and other things. Yes.
This let's say Oracle image is there, so it is having it is on the Scratch Ubuntu or something will be there sitting on the lower level, right?
You have to install. Do you have to install? Just need Docker, nothing else.
Okay, okay, but the image which is created, Oracle image, which will be like something.
Yeah, yeah. These images are available in Docker Hub. Yeah, let me show you.
Okay.
Since you have asked this question, okay. Let me show you.
Because
this is
I was reading some article where it was written that there should be some base image like on top of Ubuntu. It is already Oracle libraries are written, something like that. That image.
Yeah. Let me show you.
Yes.
So what you need is like for standard software, Gaurav, that Oracle or MySQL, you don't need like that configuration. You can download them directly from Docker Hub. We will download these things directly from Docker Hub. So this is the Docker Hub, okay, and I have my account here. So it has like thousands of images here, and you can download those images. Like if I click on Explore, I think it will show you. Like, see, first one is Oracle. You can download entire Oracle database enterprise edition from here. Just download the image here. If you have Docker, you can run Oracle here. You can run Oracle on your system. Couchbase, MySQL, Postgres, anything you can download from here.
So these are the images. It needs container to run.
Yes.
Basically. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. You just need a Docker here, and these are the images when you run, and you can run these images as containers. If you run this image, MariaDB image, okay, then that means your container is ready, and you can run all the operations which are meant for MariaDB into that, right? It is taking, I think, more time. Let me see what is happening here. Creating VirtualBox VM. VirtualBox Minikube gaming.
Guys, you can join again with the same link. I will just remind you. Maybe within 10 or 15 seconds it will end. So you can join with the same link. Because just like WhatsApp few days back, there was a news in like Zoom is not safe to use. So we are not very much serious about Zoom.
Okay, so yeah, so this virtual machine is getting ready. In the meantime, let me show you a few things. Okay, I'll connect to the virtual machine through PuTTY. So 192.168.99.105, 192.168.99.105. Yep. So guys, the virtual machine is ready, but on that virtual machine, Kubernetes is still getting installed. So it is still installing the Kubernetes, but virtual machine is ready. Okay, so this is the same virtual machine, that Minikube virtual machine. Then so that other people can join in, and then we'll start again. Okay. In the Gaurav, you have to enable the sharing.
Okay. Yes, enabled.
Okay. Yep. All right. So I think people are still joining in. Yes. Let's wait for 1 more minute and then we will start. Okay, so let's start now. So as I said, so our virtual machine is ready, and it has it has these credentials I've written in my notes. The credentials for Minikube VM are Docker and TC user. Docker is the username and TC user is the password. Okay, so this is the that thing, and you even I have, although I have logged in through PuTTY, but from the command line as well you can log in. Okay, if I open another session, probably. So from the command line as well, you can log into this virtual machine like using Minikube SSH. If you do Minikube SSH, you can log into this virtual machine as well. All right. Now let me run few commands here. Docker version. So as you can see here, when I ran Docker version here, so Docker is installed here. This is the client version and this is the server version. So Docker is installed in this virtual machine. Now since Docker is installed, you can run any container here. Okay, you can download the image and then you can run the container here. Okay, so what we will do, we will see first what all images are here already. Docker image ls. So these images are already available locally. So on this virtual machine, these images are already available locally. So what we will do, we will download one image called Nginx. Nginx is a web server. So we will download the image of Nginx. Docker image pull Nginx. So this is the command, Docker image. Then we are pulling the image, pull and Nginx. Nginx is the image name. Okay, so this is the command for downloading the image of Nginx. Nginx again is a web server. So it is downloading that image.
And by default,
so the image is getting
from the hub, right? Docker hub by default.
Yeah, Docker hub. Yes,
yeah.
By default it downloads from the Docker hub. Yeah.
If I want to create one repository for Wittyminds, I can do that.
You can create that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can see, even on Docker hub, I have my images there. So you can. So in the organizations, in the companies, they don't use Docker hub. They have their own repositories. They put their images in their own repositories and they download from those repositories. They don't use Docker hub. Docker hub is a publicly available repository. So companies don't use Docker hub for their work. Okay, so that is the thing. So I have downloaded the image of Docker and I have downloaded the image of Nginx. All right, and Docker is already there on my system. So now what I will do, so if I do Docker image ls, so you can see Nginx is now downloaded. You can see it here. It's of 133 MB. Earlier it was missing. So if you see the prior command, earlier it was missing. There was no Nginx. Then we downloaded using this command, Docker image pull Nginx, and now we can see that the Nginx image is here. So Docker is there, image is here. Now we can run the container. We can run an Nginx container here. So this is the command. So this is the command, Docker this Docker container run -d, and or you can run it in interactive mode as well. So this is the command. I'll explain the command to you as well. So a Docker, okay, container run is for running the container. IT is for the interactive mode. So if you want to interact with container, you can run the container in interactive mode. So what we will do, we will just not run the container, we will interact with it as well. Okay, we will enter into the container. We will log in into the container. Then name is the name of container. So we have given it one name as well, like my Nginx. And Nginx is the image. And this is the command, sh. So sh is nothing but the shell. So if you have to interact with the Nginx, or if some so you need this sh, you need some shell. It can be sh or it can be bash or anything like that. So if I run this command, so I got the prompt here. So that means container is ready. We have run the container, and container is ready. We have run the container, and now we are inside the container. So if I do bash here, I can see the directories here. So I am inside the Nginx container. So these are the directories of files inside the container. Okay, You can see.
Yes, this was actually my question. Sorry to interrupt. Here, the base image is Linux, right? Because I can see Linux like
Yes.
inside the structure.
Yes.
So Nginx is basically on top of a. You can just show like which is the operating system version, maybe Uname.
Yeah.
So my doubt also got cleared, I think, here.
Linux is operating system.
Yes.
So all these. So what you can do? So as you said, base image was Linux. On top of that, we installed Nginx. Suppose now we have Nginx image here. Now you want to make some more changes. So what you will do? You will take base image as Nginx, and you will install other things on top of Nginx. That way you can install one thing, one layer over the other, another layer over the other. This way we work. I can give if I can show you. So if I show Oracle, okay. Sometimes they show resources support. Okay, it's not coming, but sometimes they show the things as well, like they show the complete code as well. What is the base image? What are the other layers on top of that? So they show those things as well. Okay, yeah. So yeah, so Nginx is running. Okay, so this is one container which is running. We can come out of it like using Control P, Control Q. Now we are in the Docker. We are in the Docker prompt. We are on the Linux prompt. So if you want to see that container is running or not, you can do docker container ls. So you can see that our container with the name of my Nginx is running. This container is running. Image is Nginx. This is container ID. Okay. Then it was created 2 minutes back. It is up for 2 minutes. Okay, and its name is my Nginx. So you can see I have run one container. So what I did, I downloaded the image, I ran the container. So container is running on my host on my Linux operating system. Now I can run another container. So suppose I want to Docker image Redis. If I want to if I want to run this container, so what I will do first, I will download the image for Redis. Docker image pull Redis. So it is getting downloaded.
So okay. It's a database cache basically, Redis, I think.
Yes. Yeah. So it is getting downloaded. So what we have done, we have installed Nginx, which is a web server. Now we are installing Redis. So Redis is downloaded. Now we can run Redis again in the same way. So in place of and you can also see Docker image ls. So you can see Redis also here. Okay. Now we'll run this command. So image name is Redis, and I'm giving one name to my container, which is my Redis. Okay, yeah. Let's see. So Redis container is running, and I'm inside the Redis container. There is no file here. Let me see. Yeah, files are here, but in the root directory. So these are the files here. Okay. So if I want to come out, Control P, Control Q, I'm outside this. Okay. So if I do Docker container ls, so two containers are running now, my Nginx and my Redis. So you can see that I have a Linux operating system. So this is Linux uname uname. Okay, this is Linux. I have Docker installed here, Docker version. I have Docker installed here, and on top of Docker I can run any container. This is my Redis container, this is my Nginx container, and I can run tens of containers here as well based on the resource requirements. So I have a limited resource capacity here on my laptop. So based on the resource requirement, I can run multiple containers here. So and you can search as well, like what all images are available. So like yeah. So this is about the containers. Any questions, guys, till now on containers? We'll demonstrate few things. I want to demonstrate a few things as well, but somehow I think my virtual machine has some problem. Okay, now it is running. Preparing Kubernetes. Probably it will work now. Yeah. Okay.
So you have
Any questions,
connected
guys?
to one of the VM which was created from Minikube, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Minikube itself is a VM. Okay. So this is a VM, Minikube. It has a name called Minikube. It is a virtual machine, and it's a one node Kubernetes cluster. It has just one node. Normally in Kubernetes clusters we have multiple nodes, but since we don't have much resource capacity here, so we just have one node Kubernetes cluster here. Okay, and this VM has a one node Kubernetes cluster plus Docker, so it has both the things, Docker as well as Kubernetes. And yeah, so probably it is taking some time. Let's wait for some more time. Okay, so virtual machine is set up. Now it is preparing Kubernetes version 1.20.0 on Docker 20.10.0. So if it is successful, then I will show you the Kubernetes things as well, like pods and Kubernetes, how those things work. Then I will show you those things as well. But till now, what we have seen containers. Okay, these are the containers: MyRedis, MyNginx. We have seen Docker. So if you have Docker on a Linux operating system, you can run containers on top of that. Okay, and we have seen virtual machines. So these are virtual machines which we have seen. We have seen hypervisor, like VirtualBox Manager is a hypervisor. These few things we have seen till now. Okay.
So just like Java and Python package, they are reducing our efforts. So in C, we were writing all the code, right? So we came to Python and Java and just imported the package. So similar way, we are just importing the Docker Hub packages from Docker Hub, which is ready-made for us.
Yes, images. So suppose you want to set up MySQL database. Okay, what you will do: Docker image pull MySQL. Okay, it will download the MySQL image. Then you can run MySQL as a container. Then you can create then you can do all that stuff, like setting up database, creating tables, all that stuff. That is the configuration thing. That's a separate thing. You can do that. But even earlier, even installing MySQL, that was a lot of effort. Okay, now those things are, you can see how easy it is. You don't need to download any dependency or any other thing. Earlier you have to install a lot of dependencies. So all these dependencies libraries are part of this MySQL image. So it will take care of all the libraries, all the compatibilities, all the dependencies, everything. Okay, so it will take care of all those things.
So that's why nowadays sysadmins should also know everything, and even a developer should know all the deployment work.
Yeah.
So it's like in both ways.
These things help. These things help a lot. Yes. So Kubernetes, I think it is getting finalized. I think yeah, it's working. Yeah, it's working. So I'll show you. So that's a major thing. So earlier you used to install a lot of dependencies and libraries, but now when you download an image, all the dependencies and libraries are part of that image. You don't need to install a single file, a single dependency apart from that, except that image. And so till now, what I haven't shown you any applications. But what I showed you that okay, we have downloaded this Nginx, but I haven't seen anything working to you. I'll show you how Nginx looks like, how the web server looks like. I'll show you all those things now. Okay, give me some time. Just till if it is ready, then we will see these things. I'm just waiting for the Kubernetes to be up. Then I'll show you all those things. I think it is almost finalized, just getting ready. Still not ready. Okay. Okay, it is getting ready. Yeah, I think yes. So now we have Docker image ls. We have these three images. MySQL image is also there. If we want, we can run MySQL container here. But I think we have ran enough containers just to get an understanding. So now we will move on to Kubernetes. So I'm just waiting for this thing to get started. Or I can run another terminal. I can open another terminal, and we can work from there as well. Yeah. So Minikube status. Yeah, so you can see here when I run Minikube status, it is saying like host is running, type is control plane, kubelet running. So I think it's almost set up. Let me show you few things as well. Minikube dashboard. Yeah. Yes. So this is the complete Kubernetes dashboard page. You can see all the pods, all the jobs, deployments, everything here. Okay, so you can see the complete thing here. So if I click on nodes, you can see we have one node here. The node name is Minikube. Okay, and this is the configuration. Like this is the CPU, this is the CPU limit, memory, and other things. So there is the dashboard page for our Kubernetes cluster. So our cluster is ready and it's working. Okay, so the command which you need to run is that this is the command. This one, Minikube dashboard. It will show you the complete Kubernetes cluster configuration. Okay, so this is the command. Now the actual, yep. Now the things are ready, completely ready. Okay, so kubectl version. As I told you before, kubectl is the command. It's a command line tool for interacting with Kubernetes cluster. Now I'm running kubectl version. It will show me the version for Kubernetes. So it is taking some time. I don't know why, but it is working fine. But it is taking more time. Probably there is some resource crunch, so that's the case. But it is, yeah. So that's the thing. So this is the version. So we have this thing. We have a version 1.20.0 for client and version 1.20.0 for server. This is the Kubernetes version. Okay. So very quickly, what I will do. Okay. And in Kubernetes, we have a concept. We have the concept of pods. Okay. So in Docker, we have a term called containers, and in Kubernetes, we have a concept called pods. So pods are nothing but a wrapper on top of containers. Okay, so because Kubernetes provides a lot of functionality than just containers. Okay, so it provides a lot of other functionalities as well. So it uses a wrapper on top of containers and we call it pods. So if I run this command kubectl get pods, as of now there is no pod. Okay, but I can run one pod here. Kubectl run nginx -name equals to nginx. This command will run a container. Okay, that container will be based on nginx. That container will use nginx image. Okay, that container will use nginx image, and the name of that pod is nginx. So just to make you understand, first we have containers, then there is a wrapper on top of containers, and that wrapper is called a pod. In Kubernetes, the smallest unit is a pod. Okay, the Kubernetes uses a wrapper on top of containers, and that wrapper is known as a pod. So I'm going to run a pod here, but in the background a container is only running. This is the command. It will run a nginx pod here. Okay. I think there is some mistake. Okay, I think there is some mistake in my command. Flag.
Oh, In place of
Okay.
name, it should be image.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
So it's a single container pod, right?
It's a single container pod. Yes, you are right. Now if I run kubectl get pods command, yeah, so my pod is running. So Nginx pod is running. So you can see it's one by one ready. And beneath this Nginx pod, Nginx container is running. But Kubernetes doesn't deal directly with containers because it provides a lot more functionality than containers. It provides a lot more functionality. That's why it uses pods. So Nginx is running here. Now let me show you the functionality. So now what we will do, we will enter inside this container. Okay. So there is a command here. So kubectl exec -it nginx -sh. We will enter inside this container. So we are inside the container. And Nginx, as I said, it's a web server. Web server. If you run this command, web curl localhost. So if you want to see a web page inside Linux, okay, the command is curl. So inside Linux on the command line there is no browser, so you can't use browser here, but you can use the curl command here. So if I run curl command here, okay, curl localhost, what it will do, it will hit the default port for web server, which is port 80, and it is showing you that web page from the Nginx container, but it is not looking probably that much good, but I'll show you the things on the browser as well. So it is saying welcome to Nginx. So web server is working fine. Web server is working perfectly. That is the Nginx web server. So what I've done is I'm running curl localhost, or I'm running web server from or I'm accessing web server from inside the pod or inside the container. But that is not going to happen in real world. In real world, nobody is going to enter inside your container or inside your pod to gain access to the web server or to gain access to some database. Okay, because that is not going to happen in the real world. So how can we access this web server or any other application from my laptop? Okay, so that we will see now. So I'll come out of this container. Okay, it will still be running. I've come out of this, but it will still be running. So now we have to see. So next step is that access Nginx using public IPs, using my VM's IP and default port. So if I try to access Nginx using public IP, which is the IP of my virtual machine, I will not be able to access it. So you know that this Nginx web server is running on my virtual machine. So one idea can be that if I use the IP of my virtual machine, I should be able to access this Nginx web server. So let me try, but it is not going to work. So let me see the IP of my virtual machine. It is 192.168.99.105. Okay, so http://192 168.99.105 192.168.99.105:80. Let's see what happens. So this is the IP of my virtual machine, and in that virtual machine my Nginx pod is running. Okay, but I am not able to access the web server using the IP of my virtual machine. That is the problem. If I use 80, which is the default port, I am not able to access it. Now how to make this work? How can I access the applications which are running inside the pod from my virtual machine or from my laptop? Okay, so we have a thing called services here. If we create a service, then using that service we can access the applications which are running inside the container or inside the pod from our laptop, from our desktop, from the nodes. So we'll create one service here. Okay, so this is the yes. So I will not go through the code as of now. Okay, even the code is not that much difficult. It's pretty simple. Okay, so first let's understand the concept. So what I will do, I'm running a command called kubectl I told you the command to interact with Kubernetes cluster, apply -f, and this is the configuration file. This configuration file has all the configuration for creating a new service. Okay, I'm going to create a new service here. So I'm creating a new service here. So the service is created. I can run this command from here as well, from the command line from here as well. That's not a problem. I just ran it from there, but I can run it from anywhere. Okay. So if I run the command now, kubectl get svc. So a new service is here. The name of my service which I've given in my file is nginx-service. This is the name of the service. Okay, and it has a port. It is doing a port mapping. So anything which is coming on port 80, it is mapping it to port 30,008. Now if I want to access this 1238. Now it is accessible. So I'll come to the concept now in a few minutes. So you can see that earlier service was not there. So we were not able to access the application which was running inside the container or inside the pod from our laptop. But then we installed a service, and now we are able to access the application which is running inside the container or inside the pod using from our laptop. So service has provided me access to the application which is running inside the container. So that help is being provided to me by service. Now let's see what is there inside the service. So there is not much here. So what this service is doing? So anything which is coming on port, so that there is a port mapping here. So like this is the port 30,008. This port is on the node. So the node is this one, the IP which I am giving here. This is my node. This is my virtual machine node. Okay. So anything which is coming on this port, it is routing it to port 80 on the container. So web server nginx, okay, it is running on port 80. All right. So anything which is coming on port 30,008, it is routing it to port 80. This is how it is working. So now that's why I'm able to access my nginx web server, which is running inside the container from my laptop, which was not possible earlier.
But what we generally think is we are directly hitting the server, like Facebook, even Netflix, they are using the same concept, and we think that it is directly hitting the server, but it is hitting a pod basically using the service.
Yes. Yeah. That's the whole concept of services. Okay, so because what is happening is you can't access the pod directly. Okay, you have to go through a service. All right, so that's the concept behind the services. So now you can see what we did. First we installed we created one pod. That pod has a nginx container running in it, and we access that web server, okay, that nginx web server using my laptop, from my laptop. Okay, so that's the whole concept. Any questions, guys, till now?
So that service actually was a code which is mapping the port to 80. That's it.
Yes. Yeah. So there are three kinds of service here. Just to give you an example, one is the node port service, another is cluster IP, and the third is load balancer. If you want to access, suppose you want to access something inside that cluster. Suppose you have a cluster, Kubernetes cluster, and inside that cluster some pods are running, and there are some users outside the cluster. Like I am a user outside the cluster, and if I want to access something inside the cluster, then I have to use the node port service. So as of now, what I did, I used a node port service. So you can see the type here is node port. So if I want to access something from outside the cluster, I have to use node port service. If I want to use something inside the cluster only, suppose there are two pods inside the cluster, okay, and one pod want to access another pod, then they have to use the cluster IP service. That's another service. So I can show you as well. Yeah, that's the cluster IP service. So cluster IP is for internal purpose. If one pod inside a cluster wants to access another pod inside the cluster, then they use cluster IP service. Okay, but if the users which are outside the cluster, like you or me, if we want to access some functionality which is running inside the cluster, Kubernetes cluster, then we have to use the node port service. That's the thing.
So this 308, I mean, this actual port, is it a default port for this service, or
no? You can give any port.
Any port number.
Any port. What I can do, I can delete the service. I can get a different port as well. And there is a range as well. There is a range, like you can't give any port. There is a higher range, like from
dynamic range or static.
So like if you give a port here, it will take that port. If you don't give a port here, it will take a default port.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
default port from the dynamic range.
Yes, from the dynamic range. Yes. That means what I can do, I will delete the service. Okay. Sorry, I have to give the name as well. So name of service is, just a minute, control get svc. So the name is kubectl delete svc nginx -service. I'm deleting it. Okay, so it is deleted. Now I'm commenting out this line. So it will take a default port. Okay. Yeah, let's see. So kube control get svc. So now you can see it has taken 31365. Okay. Now if I run 31365, now it is running on 31365. If I use the earlier port, it's not going to run.
Yeah, right.
30. It's still running. Let me close it. It should not run. Something, if it is in cache, then that's this other thing.
Right, yeah, we can clear the cache and try.
Yeah, then yeah. Otherwise, it should not run kube control get po. Only one pod is running, and that's running on this 31365. Yeah. Only the cache can be the thing. 192.168.99.105 192.168.99.105 colon 30,008. Somehow it's still, probably it's because of cache, that's why it's coming, but it's running on this port only. Okay, so that's a thing. So if I go inside the container kube control exact -it nginx sh.
-sh was it?
Okay, probably it is deprecated. Okay, yeah, sorry. So if I do curl local host here 80, it's still running. Okay, so welcome to nginx. It's still running inside it. Probably it's because of this is running because of some caching thing, but yeah, otherwise it should not be running.
Yes.
Probably if I use some other one here. Okay. Let me try. Somehow it is coming. I'll see why it is coming here.
Before that, did we execute a command? I mean, did we execute some? I think we execute that service to run using this port. And did we kill that service?
Yeah, we deleted the service. What we did, let me show you. We ran this command kube control delete svc and the service name. So like what you have to do, you have to run kube control get svc. It will give you all the services. So there is the Kubernetes service. It's a system service. You don't need to touch this one. Yours is this one, which we created is this one, nginx -service. There's our service. Okay, so first you have to delete this one, and then only you can create another one. And to create another one, you control apply -f and the file name, configuration file name, which has all the configuration. Right. You have to give that one.
Yes. Yeah, sometime it happens with the cache, and maybe we can go to pod, and then you can look for netstat command, and also that is a, like, I think
some
going into
troubleshooting.
much deep,
Yeah,
but
some
for now,
troubleshooting.
yeah, we can let assume that this is because of cache.
Yeah, because it's running on this port. So if we try from this port, it's running. That other port is running 31365. It's running 31365. Say I use some other port, say 50,000. From 50,000, it's not running. Okay. If I use 31365, it's running.
Yeah, it should run.
So that's the thing.
Yeah. Okay. So if anybody else is also waiting for their question, because we are running out of time basically. So sorry for the interruption.
Yeah.
So please
Yeah,
ask your question and feel free to put in the chat, in the email, in WhatsApp, anytime. If anybody is looking for certification, they can directly connect to me after the session. So we'll just wait for 5-10 seconds more for like question. If anybody has question, please raise hand immediately.
Yeah, let us know if you have any questions.
So if everybody is silent, we'll just assume right now you don't have any question. So later it is basically that's such a great session from Avnish that he has covered everything in just I think less than 1.5 hours. So I have not seen a
nice session. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
That anybody is covering each and everything with such a great understanding and going into deep, and even for a beginner or a experienced people like Akash is like both are able to get this session
exactly.
Yes, from the basic. So if any thing related to practice, exercise, questions, interview related preparation, which are the company who are hiring on Kubernetes and Docker, please connect with us. Thanks a lot, Avnish, and thanks a lot everyone for joining this session. Wish you a good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Bye.
Bye, thanks, Avnish.
Yeah, if someone wants to prepare, for CKAD certification, you can let us know, because I've done that certification recently. I have my notes as well. So like these are all my notes which I prepared while doing the certification. So yeah, we can help you guys as well.
So that is from Kubernetes side, you'll get the certification CKAD. And for this session also, we are releasing the certificate. Those who have understood the basic concept, and you can like install Minikube and do a whatever setup you want. Even cluster setup is available in AWS and even in other platform like DigitalOcean. So we'll guide you, and you can connect anytime. Yes, guys. So thanks a lot once again.